Welcome into Dad's Plane with me, the Unhinged Father. Who is the Unhinged Father, you ask? Might be easier to tell you who I'm not. I'm not some enlightened guru asshole pretending to have all the answers for you. I'm also not someone who's given up on life and decided to become a fatfluencer. Nope. I'm somewhere in the middle. Just a dad, trying to do his best, here to give it to you straight. If you wanted a cute, whimsical dad giving you tips on how to change diapers, you're in the wrong fucking place. If you wanted some straight talk on parenthood, marriage, mental health, finances, morality, or anything else I deem important, then welcome in. Let's have some fun. This week, going to hit a subject that's a little bit more raw and a little bit more vulnerable for me. It's just a place that I've been within the last week or so. And this episode is really going to be geared towards the parents out there, the parents that are trying their hardest to do their best, trying to make their way through this crazy world that we live in, trying to raise good kids. Even if you're not a parent, if someday you choose to become a parent, or you want to be a parent someday, or you have parents, this still may be a message that resonates with you. It's definitely something that's kind of hitting me a little bit hard right now. I've had a little bit of struggles this week, and not going to lie, this is going to be the first week that since I've been doing this, all 7 weeks so far, that I really haven't felt like sitting down and doing the podcast. But I want to stay consistent, and I want to make sure that I'm putting out good content to obviously those tens and tens of fans out there. To all the parents and dads and moms out there trying your best, doing whatever you can for your kids, I see you. I see the effort that you're putting in. I see the struggles that you're going through. I see you trying to do what's best for your child every step of the way. I see those dual income parents that are trying to make the decision whether or not they should pay an arm and a leg to put their kids through childcare, or if one of them should give up their career in order to stay at home and take care of the kids. Or maybe they try and just put together some sort of hodgepodge childcare plan, and they're not necessarily present in any portion of their lives. They're giving so much to every area that they're in, and it's just draining them. And I see that. I know where you're at. I've been there. To the mom out there that's the breadwinner in the family and bringing home the bacon, but also responsible for a huge chunk of the childcare that no one necessarily gives to you or puts on your shoulders except for nature. The fact that you are the person who can give birth, and if you decide to do breastfeeding, that falls solely on your shoulders as well. I see that it's difficult to stay within your career and also be fully committed to your family at home. And I don't think that it's impossible, but I see how hard it is. And I also see that society doesn't necessarily have systems in place to help people succeed and also be parents. It seems that society is built to push people towards careers, towards work, towards being productive, but it doesn't seem like there are systems in place to really truly help parents and ensure that we're setting up the next generations for success. And maybe that's part of the reason why society is so shitty as of late, or seems like it's so shitty as of late, because we're not doing enough to really set up the future generations for success. And when I say success, I don't necessarily mean financial or career success. I mean the success of just being a good fucking person. And to the parents who used to be at the top of their game in their career, they were always the first person in, always the last person to leave, always getting their assignments done. There was never any excuses, never called in sick. To those parents, I see you. And I also see that now that you have kids, there are just so many variables that go into getting your kid out of the fucking door in the morning and getting him to childcare. You're reliant on so many things outside of your control in order to do that. And there are days now where you're late, you can't show up. Last minute, you have to call out of work. Sick child, childcare doesn't show up. Any of these things can have an impact on your job and your job performance. And I see you. I see you sitting there struggling, trying to reconcile the fact that you are a badass worker, that you're a good person, that you try hard, you're a good employee, but also that your kids are more important, and that you're going to have these hardships that are outside of your control that are going to cause you to have issues with work. And I've been lucky enough that I work for people who have kids and they understand these struggles, but it still doesn't stop these feelings coming up from within me that I'm a shitty employee, that I'm not worthy, that I don't have this value because I can't give 100% to both being a parent and I can't give 100% to my job. To the parents out there that are just constantly feeling this judgment, like all eyes are on them and that nothing that they do is ever enough. The judgment of grandparents, other parents, family members, friends, non-parents, just random people out there. I see you, I see that judgment on you, and I see that these ridiculously high standards that you are held to. It would seem that it's the job of a good parent to take on all of this judgment, to take the blame for any time a child does something that's outside of the societal norms, even if it's just a kid being a kid and people don't fucking understand what kids do or their psychology. It's our job to take on burden, this judgment, and to take the blame for anything that goes awry. It also is our job to not expect any of the praise that goes along with it. In this society, a lot of the praise is heaped on teachers or people outside of the family, and the family is almost seen sometimes as, and I know this isn't truly true, but it does feel like sometimes that the family is seen as the enemy. The family is seen as the ignorance, the instincts, and the love, and all of that stuff is secondary to society, school, education. I see how that could hurt, how that struggles there, because you want your kids to be a part of society and you want them to be educated and smart, intelligent people. But I know that you also love them so much and you have these instincts within yourself to know what's right and what's wrong. And I'm just here to say that I see that. I also see the dichotomy that comes up within parents as well when they do hear criticism of their children. Part of you wants to go back and just punch that fucking idiot in their mouth for saying anything about your kid and what they're doing. But at the same time, there's this societal pull for you to correct your child, to put them in their place and make sure that they're following the rules or whatever the expectation is of society, even if you know deep down that it's complete horseshit. I know that being a parent is the best thing in the world and I wouldn't trade it in for anything, but it can also be extremely isolating, especially when dealing or working with people that don't have children and don't understand the expectation or the pulls that are there as a parent, the responsibility that you have, the fact that you're responsible for not only keeping a child alive, but making them a productive part of society. You're also never truly succeeding, it feels like. You're trying as hard as you can in all aspects of your life and giving as much as you can to each area, but you're not truly succeeding within any one area at any given time, or at least it feels like you're not succeeding in that area. I see you struggling and I understand, and I just want to say that it's okay. It's okay to not be at 100% in every area of your life. That doesn't mean you're not succeeding. It may mean that you're not doing it to the standard that you've done it before in the past, but your definition of success needs to change as you become a parent, because it's fucking impossible to give 100% to 35 different fucking areas in your life that you're responsible for now. Someone I know summed it up pretty well. They said, being an adult is fucking hard. To the parents out there trying their best to keep their kids safe, but also making sure that they're not holding on too tightly and holding their kids back, I see you and I see that struggle. You want to protect your kids from some of the harsh realities of this world. Taxes, finances, corruption, all of the things that their minds aren't necessarily ready for. But at the same time, you don't want to hold them back and keep them too sheltered. You want them to eventually learn, when the time is right, that this world can be a harsh one as well. If you're doing this parenting thing right, it may feel like sometimes that you're holding up the entire weight of the world on your shoulder, trying to prevent it from crushing your kids. I see you there struggling. I see you holding up the weight of that world, and I'm right there next to you with the weight of the world on my shoulders as well. We need to remain strong enough to bear the brunt of that load, keep that world hoisted high above our kids, preventing it from crushing them, crushing their dreams, crushing them just as people. We have to stay strong and hold that up until they're strong enough to help carry some of that burden as well. Now, I'm not saying all of this to have a pity party for myself or any of the other parents out there. I know that this is hard. We signed up for it, or at least most of us signed up for it, having kids. And having a kid is a responsibility, and it is your job to try your best. I'm only saying all of this stuff to acknowledge the fact that being a good parent is fucking hard. It is very difficult to be a good parent, especially in the society that we're living in today. You need to be better. You need to continue to try and do better. You need to continue to learn and to grow as a parent and to do your best to give the children that you have what they deserve. Give them the best of yourself. Give them the best of this world. Help them grow into good human beings. Being a good parent is fucking hard. It is very difficult. And if it was easy, everyone would be a good parent. But obviously we've seen things around us, and we know there are some pretty shitty ones out there as well. All I wanted to say in this episode is that I see you, good parents. I see you struggling, and I know that you're having a hard time. I'm right there with you. And not to say that we can give up, but I'm just saying that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to not have all of the answers. It's okay to let down your guard sometimes, and it's okay to fail. We're going to fail at certain things. We just have to continue to try our best, pick ourselves up off of the ground, brush off the dust, and keep moving forward, because that's what our kids need from us, and that's what we need to do. With all of that said, I see you. I see you trying. I see you doing your best. I see you trying to be a good parent, and good on you for it. And before I jumped into this week's Unhinged rant, I did want to give a book recommendation, especially because this week is just seems like the podcast is a little bit heavier, a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more sentimental on my part. And like I said, part of that is just the mind space that I'm in this week. It's been a rough one. Before the Coffee Gets Cold is a novel that I read. A little quirky, humor in there, definitely some sentimental aspects of it as well, but a good read, a fairly easy read, and one that has a good message. And I won't give too much away on this novel, but essentially what it is saying is that we need to try and live each day to the fullest. We need to try and make sure that we're always engaging with the people that we love, let them know that we love them, and make sure that we're not taking any of the moments that we have with them for granted. I think that it's a good novel to read. I think that it's got a good message behind it, and I think that it was thoroughly enjoyable. I really enjoyed reading the book, and I think that you would enjoy reading it as well, especially if you're looking for a new novel. Like I said, it's a bit quirky and a little out there, and may not be every person's cup of tea, but if you're looking for a good fiction to read, I would definitely suggest picking up this novel. And that brings me to this week's Unhinged rant, and this one is a little raw for me as well. Obviously, many of you know the atrocities that happened this past weekend. They've really kind of hit me hard, a little bit to my core, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this. And politics aside, I'm not a geopolitical expert. I don't know all of the politics that go into these different things, and I don't claim to know those things. But what I do know is what's fucking right and what's fucking wrong. And some of the most disgusting things that I have seen come out of all of this is just the response from people out here in the United States or throughout the world. The amount of division that this sparked, the amount of vitriol and hatred that I see on the streets is just absolutely disgusting. I don't want to put a right or wrong to either side of this, but I wanted to break it down into really the smallest aspect of this that I could in terms of what's right and what's wrong. And the one thing that I know with absolute certainty is that there is no justifiable reason within this world to murder a baby or children. They're fucking innocent. They don't carry the sins of the people that come before them, and I don't give a shit what anyone says. Babies, every single fucking baby that comes in this world is innocent. And when I'm able to just see this brutal and callous execution of children and babies, it makes me fucking sick to my core. And then to hear people try and use some sort of justification for why it's happening. They may not even be justifying the individual event itself, which, I mean, I would hope not. If you're defending the murder of babies and children, then you're fucking sick. But even if you're just trying to defend these actions from a political standpoint, what I really want you to do is I want you to watch those fucking videos. I want you to watch those babies, the pain, the suffering. I want you to see them fucking murder them, kill them, and I want you to watch them put them in fucking body bags. And then if you can watch that, and then you can come back and you can still try to defend that point that there's some sort of fucking justification for it, then you are part of the fucking problem. And you make me absolutely sick to my stomach. Children and babies are fucking innocent. They deserve to be protected at all costs. And there's no justification for it. If you find yourself defending still, you're either pure fucking evil, or you're just so consumed with your hatred and your need for drama and your need for division that you can't detach long enough to see the morally reprehensible things that have happened. And like I said, I'm not here to talk about the politics. I know that there's atrocities that happen throughout the world, but to just see the celebratory aspect of it and just the pure calloused evilness of doing this to children, to babies. I'm not even going to go into all of the other things. This is just taking it down to this bare level of the most vulnerable within all of society that need our care. I just don't know how anyone could ever do that to a fucking child or to a baby. It's just reprehensible to me. It really got to me, made me emotional this week, and I've been having a shitty week. I'm not sure if it's just because of that or other things, but it really stung because all I could think about is what would I have done in that situation? What if I was one of the parents in that situation? How could I have done anything to protect my kids? What would I have done? I can't even imagine or fathom the amount of hurt and anger and fear that everyone's feeling. And I feel for them. I feel for anyone who's been put through this and anyone who can do the mental gymnastics that they need to in order to justify any of the actions like that violence, that callous, brutal evilness. If you really can justify that, or you're trying to justify it, well, then you are part of the problem, like I said, and maybe it should be you in that body bag and not one of those fucking innocent babies. And that'll do it for this week's episode of Dadsplain with the Unhinged Father. Sorry that it was a little bit of a heavier episode. Like I said, these are just things that have been on my mind, things that I can't really get off of my mind or talk about. And so I'm using this as an outlet for that. And I apologize if it's something that's a little bit heavy for you and not necessarily something you wanted to start your day. Not a ton of humor in this episode. But as always, I do appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening. If you enjoyed the episode, give me a follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends about it if you enjoyed it. If you think there's anyone that would enjoy this podcast or could benefit from it in some way, share it with them. Links are in the show notes. Other than that, I really do hope that everyone has a fantastic week and hopefully a better weekend than the weekend we had before. If you have kids, go give them a hug, go give them a kiss. If you don't have kids, call your family, tell them you love them. You're never going to get this time back. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what the meaning of life is, but I do know that family, friends, loved ones, those are some of the things that make living here, living in this world, the best that it can be. So make sure that you're taking care of that and that you enjoy each moment and don't take this time that we have for granted. As always, be good, try hard, do your best.